Hello everyone and welcome to the Plants But Better channel. My name is Adina and today we're discussing something that I promised a few weeks ago, I think. This video is all about plants for beginners. Now you may see from the title that today I'm talking about only 3 plants. Is 3 like a special number for me? Well, not exactly, but if you want to start collecting plants, I advise you to start small. So that's why today I have for you only 3 recommendations. And the first plant I have for you is golden pothos. Let me show you the beauty, maybe right now in a b-roll. This plant for me was one of my firsts. It's definitely a plant that I somehow managed to keep alive when I was a beginner. And apart from that, I can tell you that this plant can tolerate a lot of stuff. When I bought my first golden pothos, it was in a very small pot. I think it was a 12 centimeters in diameter, and that must mean maybe 6 inch, I think, or something, 5. Yeah, never mind that. And during 2 years' time, my small plant got from, tiny and cute to a big animal. Like, the better the light, the faster this plant will grow. This plant, it's almost like a parasite. It's like a weed. It will grow amazing. And I think that's why it's so successful for beginners. With the right amount of light, this plant can be very forgiving if you love your plants too much and you like to water them. However, be careful because this plant can go through root rot, and that's not pretty to deal with. Because I got root rot on this plant before. Actually, I think I got root rot on any plant I will show you today. And I will be showing you inexpensive plants. I will not show you any rare plant today because at first you need to be developing your green thumb, as they say. I'm not particularly into that expression. But at first you need to learn on simple plants and less expensive plants. So can you guess how many plants do I have on this pole? I'll give you 3 seconds. I have only 2 vines, and as you can see, this plant looks a bit fuller than that. The reason is that it has bigger leaves, and if you want your plant to have bigger leaves, I encourage you to grow it upwards. If you grow it upwards, more light will reach to your plant. But let's say you have your golden pothos just vining without any support, and you place it on your windowsill. At first you'll have the right amount of light on it, but then your plant starts developing downwards and your leaves will become smaller and smaller because they are not receiving the same amount of light. It's just common sense. So if you want bigger leaves, grow your plants upwards. From my personal experience, this plant was a survivor in my collection. It can go through a lot of stuff. Golden pothos for beginners. First plant. Best plant. Oh, and if you want to get any of its relatives, like for example neon pothos or enjoy pothos or marble queen, or it has like a lot of relatives, you can definitely get them again as a beginner because most of them are pretty similar to this one. And if you do a little bit of research, you will take care of them without any hardship. Yeah, let's use that. I will not discuss the full care guide for this plant in this video because I already have that. So if you're interested in every detail I know about golden pothos, I will leave a card in here or the full video again in the description box. Let's move on to the next plant. Now the spotlight is for the Sansevieria. Just be careful around your eyes. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not recommending this Sansevieria in particular, this Sansevieria Fernwood. I'm recommending any Sansevieria. Like, Sansevierias are amazing. Sansevierias or snake plants, they are super easy care. You could forget about it for 2 or 3 months and it will... This plant likes me. You can forget about it for 2 or 3 months and it will not die on you. I think it's a great plant for travelers as well. And if you want a plant with a slower growth rate, Sansevierias are for you. And why am I saying that? Because some plant parents don't want a plant that is too invasive. This will not grow as fast and you can place it in the same spot for a longer period of time. And that is amazing if you like your aesthetics to stay the same for a longer period. A great, amazing plant for beginners if you don't overwater. Some Sansevieria growers recommend to water your Sansevieria once every 2 months. So just buy your plant, check the soil. If the substrate is completely dry, then water it, but if it's not, just leave it alone. And it will reward you by staying pretty like this. And I think this Sansevieria in particular, like the Fernwood Sansevieria, doesn't get enough attention. It's so pretty and so stylish, you can definitely place it almost everywhere. Very resilient to low light, well, not quite low light, I would say medium light. I don't like to use the term low light because low light for plants is different from low light for humans. If we perceive something as medium light, the plant could perceive it as low light. So this plant is very strong. It can tolerate a few months in low light, but I will definitely not recommend it. If you have a dark spot in your house, then I would recommend using grow lights. However, this plant is very forgiving, so if you don't have the right amount of light in your home, you can water it once you remember. That's pretty much one of the best advices out there. The lower the light, the lower the frequency of watering. What can I say more about this plant? You can grow it in terracotta. It's a great option for terracotta. And if you want to know all the details about this plant, again, I made a care guide about it here in the cards or in the description box. I will probably say that just a couple of times during this video. Great plant, amazing plant. Please leave me alone. So I have this Scindapsus or Skindapsus or whatever you want to call it, and it's very attached to my hair today. I love you, but you're a bit annoying right now. Okay, I think this is better. Now let's talk about the last plant, which is Syngonium Podophyllum. This is one of my favorite plants of all times. When I first got this type of plant, this Syngonium, it was in 2018, I think, and it was a gift from my mother. And when I asked about how frequently should I water this plant, my mom was like, I water it once a day, and I was like, what? What? That was crazy. Like, how is this plant still alive? And the substrate was very dense. It was regular soil, not even regular potting soil for plants specifically, just regular soil. And it was a very extremely big plant. Let me show you right here. And I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that to this plant. I will not water it once a day. I'm not gonna do that. So I kept it in that soil because back then I didn't like to disturb the roots. And I was a bit afraid to repot plants because I thought that if I change the original substrate, it will definitely die. And I had to clean it once in a while because it had very long vines with yellowing leaves and some of them became leggy. And I stayed with my plant like this. So I stayed with a plant like this for maybe a year or so. And then I came up with the idea that I want to launch a plant shop. I chopped it. Like, I had so many Syngonium cuttings, I didn't know what to do with them. And I think that was my first time I attempted to propagate a plant when I decided to chop off my Syngonium, my big ass Syngonium. This is actually a part of that bigger plant. I have a lot of variations of Syngonium. They grow like crazy. They grow again so fast, just like the golden pothos, and they can invade your home pretty easily if you have the right amount of light. So that was the moment, the life-changing moment when I realized that I have to propagate, to start learning how to propagate plants. This is still one of my favorite plants. I don't care if it's just regular green. I don't care if it's not even expensive. Like, you can find this plant in almost every building. I don't care about that. This is one of my favorite plants of all time. Amazing. I would decorate any home with a Syngonium somewhere in a corner or on any space. I would definitely recommend Syngonium for everybody. I'm talking all high and mighty about this plant, but I didn't tell you any problems about it. Maybe the only problem that I had was spider mites at some point. However, I'm not really sure if they were spider mites or if it was just plain regular dust back then. But I did the treatments with some substances that are more natural, let's say, and you can use them in moderation. They are not as toxic as some regular pesticides that you can find everywhere. But let me tell you that in the place I live right now, I have a very high humidity. Right now I have 80% in this room. It's crazy high. And spider mites are less likely to appear if you have high humidity in your home. So maybe that's why I didn't have any spider mites problem so far. The only spider mites problems I had, like big time. It was on an alocasia poly, and unfortunately that one is dead. But maybe I'll talk about that in a different video, about mistakes I did as a beginner. Let me know in the comments if that would be a subject of interest. If you want to know the care details, I gotcha, I gotcha. I have the care guide for this video as well, in the cards, description box, you know the drill. These are the 3 plants that I will be recommending for any beginners. Golden Pothos, any Sansevieria, Syngonium Podophyllum. They will be the pillars of your learning experience. Best beginner plants out there, let me know in the comments if you have a different plant that you very much love and that you somehow managed to keep alive from your first initial collection. Because if you have some years of experience with plants, you know what I'm talking about when I'm saying that we all killed a lot of plants in dealing with them and learning about every plant needs. And if you saw the video about plants that bring unhappiness, remember to not buy so many in the beginning. I know it's a new obsession. I know it's amazing to have a house full of plants. You really feel like you are in a real urban jungle, but you will be overwhelmed in a very short amount of time, and you will lose a lot of plants if you can't manage to deal with all of them. So that's why I'm recommending only 3. Learn about this 3 and then we'll talk about even more plants. We reached the end of our video, and if you like this type of content, or if you like my face or my background, subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. And until next time, don't forget to take care of yourself and your plants.